Good morning or evening or whenever you're watching this. We are going to be going over week three statistics 9.1 measures of center and spread. The objective of this week is for you to be able to find the mean, the median, mode, range, and IQR or the interquartile range of the set. A few announcements before we begin. Um, for all the math classes that I'm teaching, I am requiring that you guys attend the Zoom office hours at least once a week. You will be getting points to show up, even if you don't have any questions. You need to just show up to make sure you check in with me. It's a quick way for me to assess where you're at, your understanding. We're already on week three, and there's already 3 weeks worth of assignments that are due. I've already finished grading the first set, and not everyone has turned something in. So if you're watching this and you haven't turned in week one and two assignments, please be sure to do that. Even if they're late, you can probably still get some points on it. If you don't turn anything in, then it's going to be really bad because it's going to pile up. And by the time that the quarter's over, you'll see that maybe you didn't pass the class because you missed a couple of assignments, and that is 100% preventable. So please, if you're having trouble, join me in the Zoom office hours. Even if you're not, join me at least once a week so you can get those points. Those will be easy points. And that's all for assignments this for today. Now let's move on to how to actually do these things, okay? So we're going to start with the definition for mean. Whenever you see the word mean, another word that the problems you're going to see use is the word average, which is why I have it in quotations. Average is when you, in terms of statistics, when you add up all the numbers in your data set and then you divide the numbers. Now, if you're asking what is data set, okay, so I'm going to underline it here. Data set is basically just um, all of the numbers that they give you. In this case right here, you see the numbers 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, and 9. These numbers are usually associated with some kind of subject, usually with studies or how many people were asked a question or whatever. In this case, we're just going to deal with the numbers, right? Because this is your introduction to it. I just need you to know how to use these numbers and what you're going to be doing. So in this case, when I ask you, okay, can you find the mean of this data set, right? These are the steps that you're going to do. The first thing is you need to make sure that you order the data set from least to greatest. Right here, I have all the numbers in least to greatest already set, so good, we've already done that. But you will have data sets in which they're not in order, right? So just make sure to check that, make sure that they are in order. If they're not, arrange them in order. I want to see them put in order, right? So step two, you're going to add all the numbers together, right? So in this case, I have them all here, right? So when you're doing this, you're going to add them all up and you're going to get a big number. In this case, I ended up getting 75 when I added them up. Feel free to check that number. I do make mistakes sometimes. If I make a mistake, please correct me. Please send me a message, that kind of stuff. So anyways, I got 75, right? And what I do with that is for step three, I take the number, right? After I added up all the numbers in my data set, I'm going to divide them by the number of numbers. This is the thing that everyone always gets confused. So what do I mean by the number of numbers? Well, I'm going to count how many numbers I added together, and that's going to be my denominator. I'm going to put an n here to symbolize numerator, which is the number on top. I'm going to put a d here to symbolize denominator, right? The numerator is I added all of the numbers, and the denominator I got by counting the number of numbers in my data set. What do I mean by that? Okay, let's go look at the data set right here. I'm going to count them. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so I counted, oops, counted 15 numbers, which means that 15 is my denominator. I'm gonna just abbreviate that. It's my denominator, which is why I put it on the bottom of my fraction. Okay, so now I have a fraction. It's 75 divided by 15. When I put that into my calculator, I end up getting 5. So what does that mean? Well, my mean or my average is 5. Okay, so that's how you find the average. Every time I ask you, okay, find the average, find the mean, these are the steps I want you to use, okay? There's gonna be some higher level problems that involve average and mean. The word problems, we'll get into those later, but just know that it's it really is as simple as doing all these steps, okay? Um, if you end up having decimals or fractions in your data set, which I don't see that you're gonna have for now, right? But if you end up having them, just you're gonna have to add them up as normal. I'll make sure to have a lesson or how to do those things when we get to them. Okay, so we're gonna move on, right? If you haven't been writing these things down, just a general reminder, please have your things down. You're gonna get credit for this week by uploading your notes for this week. So make sure you guys are taking notes of all this stuff. You're gonna take pictures of it and you're gonna upload it later. Okay. So let's move on to the next set of notes. Right. The median. Right. So how do I find the median? The median is the number that's physically in the middle of the data set. Okay. What do I mean by that? Now, you guys remember from the last slide that I had 15 numbers in my data set? Well, 15 is an odd number. Now, here's a little trick for you guys. If you have an odd number of numbers in your data set, that means any numbers that are odd, right? If you have 3 numbers, 5 numbers, 7 numbers, 9 numbers, 11, 13, 15 numbers, it's an odd number of numbers in your data set. What that means is if there's an odd number of numbers in your data set, there's going to be a number that's going to be physically in the middle. That is your median. So if you notice here, I broke them off into sections. The 5 is going to be the number that's physically in the middle, right? That means that there are, if I count, you see the dots here, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 numbers to the left of 5. There are also 7 numbers to the right of 5. Okay. So what does this mean for you? This is going to be important later on in this lesson. Keep this in mind, right? But really, when I'm asking for the median, right, I'm only interested in the number that's in the middle. In this case, my median equals 5. That is my answer, right? I don't care about the numbers to the left. I only care about the numbers to the left or to the right in the sense that they have to be the same. There has to be the same number of numbers to the left of the median as there is to the right of the median. Okay, so there's a problem here. That only works when there's an odd number of numbers in your data set. What happens if you have an even number? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this question, right? What if there's 2 numbers in the middle? Well, if you have an even number of numbers, let's say you had 4, right? Well, 4 is an even number. And that means that you're going to have 2 numbers in the center, right? And you need to decide which one is going to be your median. The best way to do this, right? The best way to do this is let's take a look at this data set right here, right? Okay. The best way to do that is to find the 2 numbers that are in the middle, and you're going to have to take the average. Remember, the average is what we found out from the previous step. Remember how you had to add up all the numbers and divide them by the number of numbers? You're going to do that, but you're only going to do that with the 2 numbers in the middle. Notice I had like this little symbol here. I'm focused on that 2 and 3 because I want to know what number is in the middle between those 2, right? So in this case, um, there is no one single number in there, so I'm going to take the average. I'm going to take 2 plus 3, I'm going to add them. And since there's only 2 numbers that I'm counting, I'm going to divide them by 2 numbers, by 2. So I ended up getting 5 divided by 2, which gives me 2.5. If you notice, 2.5 is in the middle of 2 and 3. It's perfectly in the middle. If you can figure it out by doing it in your head, that's okay. But just know that when the numbers get bigger and crazier, you're going to want to actually do this fraction because it helps keeps everything in order. Like I said, it's the beginning right now, so it may not seem very complicated, but it can easily get more complicated as we start dealing with decimals or we start dealing with fractions. okay? So anyways, here the median is 2.5. This is the only time you're gonna have to take this step is if you have an even number of numbers in your data set, okay? If you have an odd number of numbers, you should automatically know it's just, there's gonna be one number right in the middle, right? So we're gonna move on. If you have any questions on this, please send them over to me by an email or join my Zoom. Okay, so here, um, the mode. Okay, so what's the mode? The mode is the number that's repeated the most often in the data set. Again, we're using the same data set for all these so you don't get confused. In this case, we have a problem, all right? The problem here is that there's a bunch of numbers that are repeated and they're repeated the same amount of times. So numbers 2, 3, so let's go ahead and underline these. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8. These numbers are repeated twice. All of them are repeated twice. All that really means is if there's a tie between the number that's most repeated, like in this case, they're all going to be the mode. So your answer to this would just be the mode, right? When asking for the mode, you would say it's 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and 8. That's my answer. That's it. We use mode whenever a number is repeated multiple times in a data set. Usually that is an indication that there's something there. If we're doing a study and we get the same answer coming up over and over and over, it means it's either a popular answer, there's some kind of factor involved with it. It tells us that it's something we should be paying attention to. Again, these are basics, right? We're going to get into how they become more complicated and what they mean in real life. For now, all I need you to know is it's the number that's repeated the most often, right? It's an observation that we're making about a data set or a group of numbers. Um, an example, right, the one that I have down here, another example. What if my data set looks different? What if it looks like this? 3, 4, 4, 4, sorry, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, right? The mode here, since the 4 is repeated 3 times and no other number is repeated 3 times, my mode, right, is just 4. That's my answer. I don't have to do anything else. I just have to tell me. You just have to tell me what the mode is, right? Um, Even though 5 is repeated twice, 4 is repeated 3 times, and since 4 is repeated more than 5, my only mode is going to be 4. You don't have to write 4 3 times. Just write 4 once. I'll understand what it is as long as you tell me it's the mode. The mode is 4. Okay, so we're going to move on. That one should be the easiest one. We're going to move on to range. Range is simple, but it gets more complicated in the next slide. So here, whenever I ask for just a range, right, I'm asking you to take the largest number in the data set, and I'm gonna want you to subtract the smallest number from the largest. So in this case, the smallest number is the first one, which is why it helps to arrange them from least to greatest. So that's gonna be 1. The largest number is going to be 9, right? Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to take 9 as my largest number, and we're going to subtract the smallest number, 1, and we're going to get 8. My range is just 8, right? That's it. That's all I'm doing, right? Um, why are we doing this? Why are we doing the range? Well, range is useful for a couple of reasons. It lets me know how many numbers to expect in the data set or how many numbers are in between the extremes in the data set. It's a very useful number um, to know, especially when you're doing analysis of any kind of data set. It's useful for a lot of reasons that we're going to get into later, right? For now, just you need to just know how to find it, okay? That's all it is. Okay, we're going to get to probably what's the most complicated thing about this lesson. There is something more complicated that we need to get to, but we're going to save that for next week. For now, the IQR, or the interquartile range, is a measure of variability based on dividing data into a set of quartiles. Quartiles divide a rank order data set into 4 equal parts. The values that divide each part are called the first, second, and third quartiles. They're denoted by Q1, Q2, and Q3. Like I said, this is probably the most complicated thing you're going to be doing in this week. It's not as bad as it sounds. It sounds really bad, but really what's going on is you're breaking the data set up into sections, and you're essentially going to take the range of those sections. Remember, the range from the last slide, right? We were just taking the largest number and subtracting it from the smallest. Well, the range here, you're gonna break it up into quartiles, and quartiles are just sections, right? And then you're gonna find the median of each section, and then you're gonna subtract the largest quartile, which is gonna be quartile 3, and the smallest quartile, which is quartile 1. Okay, so how do I find each quartile, right? Quartile 1, right here. Median of the numbers to the left of 5. Quartile 2, you're going to find the median of the whole data set. And quartile 3, you're going to find the medians to the right of 5. So if you guys notice, I did these little sections. I broke it up into sections because I wanted to find the easiest thing is to start here. Start in the middle. Start with quartile 2. Whenever you're doing this, start with quartile 2. Quartile 2 is basically asking what's the median of the data set. Now, if we go back, right, to the section we talked about the median, it's the number that's physically in the middle, okay? So I want to start there, right? The median of the whole data set is the number that's physically in the middle. That's this one, that's 5. There is, again, remember how I said there was 7 numbers to the left of that, and there's also 7 numbers to the right? Well, that makes 5 my number in the middle, right? That, my quartile 2 is 5. The reason I have to find, or it's suggested to find quartile 2 first, is because it gives us a way of dividing up the rest of the data set. I know there are 7 numbers to the left of 5. I also know now that there's 7 numbers to the right of 5. So I'm going to start with to the left. To the left is going to be the smaller numbers. That's quartile 1. I'm going to take the median of the numbers. So there's 7 numbers. The middle of these 7 numbers is going to be 3, right? So it's like I'm taking the median of the median, right? So here, 3 is in the middle. There is 3 numbers to the right of it, and there's 3 numbers to the left, which is why my quartile 1 is going to be 3. I'm going to do the same thing for quartile 3. I know there are 7 numbers in this data set. I'm going to ignore all the other numbers, including quartile 2. I'm just going to be focused on these numbers right here. And the one in the middle is going to be 7. You see how there's 3 numbers to the right of 7, and there's 3 numbers to the left, right? Okay, so that's 7, that's 3. What happens if there's 2 numbers fighting for the middle? Well, if you remember from earlier, we would have to take the average, right? So we'll get into that in a bit. That'll be the last thing we do. But we still need to find the interquartile range, okay? So remember how I said IQR? The way you find IQR is you're gonna find quartile 3, and you're gonna subtract it from quartile 1. Remember how I said the largest minus the smallest? Well, IQR is basically doing the same thing as regular range, except you're subtracting the largest section from the smallest section. Essentially, IQR is just sections that you're breaking off the information into. So in this case, we set that IQR, let's go back and find out. IQR was 7, quartile 3, and quartile 1 was 3. So that's the 7 minus 3. The interquartile range is going to be 4. And that's it. That's all you need to do. If you have any questions about this, please contact me. There's also various resources you can find. If you're struggling and you want to try finding something on the internet first before contacting me, that's fine. You can always go to Khan Academy and just search. And you can find a video on that if that some of their videos are pretty good. If you would prefer that, go ahead and look at that and see if that helps. If you've watched the other video and you're just like, I still don't get it, I don't know what you're talking about, please contact me, send me an email, leave a comment on the Google Classroom, something, right? If you don't tell me that you're struggling, I can't help you. Um, Also, be sure to log in every day from Monday to Thursday to answer your daily questions. And let's see, is there anything else I'm forgetting? Um, oh, yeah, the homework for this week, right? I'm gonna leave the instructions on Google Classroom, but the homework for this week, right? Is going to be numbers 1 through 15. And I also want you guys to try number 25 as well. It's an error analysis question. Um, Again, this needs to be uploaded by Saturday. So this would be due. Let's check through the Friday, Saturday, 18th. Okay. This is April 18th. Okay, this will be due by 4/18/20, and then every single daily question is due the day that is posted. Please don't be late to those. I'm forced to take off a point if you are late in turning those in, and those points will add up. Okay, so with that said, good luck, guys. Let me know what you are thinking, and have a nice day.